In today's video, I'm going to show you how to hack Android devices and access the call history, the messages, the file system, images, and basically gain full remote control over any Android device anywhere in the world. If you're new here, my name is Zaid and I hack for fun. So if you're interested in ethical hacking, bug bounty, or cybersecurity, then make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so you get notified every time we upload new videos like this. As you can see, we have access to pretty much anything that exists on the target phone, the phone that we've already hacked, and we can use it like an actual user on that phone. So I can easily access the messages by simply clicking messages in here. And as you can see, I have a list of all of the messages that have been sent, including the exact date and time. And if I click the phone number, I will be able to see the content of the message. And if I go on the messages app in here, as you can see, the messages are identical to what we are able to gather in here. And obviously this is very useful as it can be used to reset the password for any account that is linked to this phone number. I can also see the phone log, again by simply clicking on the phone log, and let me just open it in here so you can compare. And perfect, as you can see, I have all of the phone numbers and the time and date when these phone calls were made. I can also just download all of this by clicking the download button in here. But let's go back, and in here, as you can see, I have access to the file system, which basically gets me access to pretty much anything on the phone, because there is so much that gets stored in here that the RAT itself doesn't have an option for in the management panel. But just put simply, I can go to the pictures in here, for example, and access the pictures stored on this phone. As you can see, there it is. That's a picture of myself. We have the image name and all of that, and I can also download it if I want to. And if we go back, you can see we also have access to the applications list, to the system information. Again, it's telling us it's a Samsung Galaxy S4. We have the ID, the manufacturer, the language, you name it. Basically have all the information that we need. If we go back, we can send notifications, we can access the contacts, play a sound, send an SMS, and this can be very, very useful. So for example, I can just put in the phone number in here, put anything for a text, like send me your password. Now, obviously this will not happen in a real world scenario, but I'm just trying to demonstrate this feature. Click on send SMS. And if we go to the messaging app, as you can see, we have a new message added up in here that was sent to the number that we requested. So I'm just trying to demonstrate that we actually have full access to the phone and we can use it the same way that the user does, and plus more, and I'll show you in a second. So I have shell access in here and I can execute any system command. Again, with this, you basically can do so much that the management panel in here simply can't account for. So again, I can just do pwd to see my current working directory. I can do uname a to get the system information, lsla to get all the files, and basically the sky's the limit here. You can execute any system command. Now, scrolling down is where it gets a little bit more fun. So you can play messages, you can vibrate the phone, you can access a keylogger. Now, I didn't manage to get this to work, but it might be just because of the Android version. You can access the notifications, and you have two options in here that I'll spend a minute showing you. First, the fish data, and we'll talk about it in a second, but the SE, which stands for social engineering, allows us to show a notification that we're gonna use in order to fish information from the target. For example, in the notification, we can say something like new security update, and the user is going to get a notification saying that. Now we can also select the icon that gets displayed beside this notification. And as you can see, we have many options in here, but for this demonstration, I'm going to go with PayPal. And finally, you can select the page that will be served to the target when they click this notification. So because we're saying it's a security update, because we're saying it's coming from PayPal, we're going to choose a PayPal login screen. So hopefully they think that they need to log in order to download the security update. And as a result, they would enter their username and password for their PayPal account. But as you can see, again, we have a whole list of so many options that you can choose from. And once you're ready, click execute, and that should show a notification on the target. As you can see, we have the notification right here. It's got the right icon. And if they click the notification, they'll see that it's saying new security update. And if they click that, as you can see, they'll be redirected to a phishing page. That is very convincing as a PayPal login page. And if they log into their account, we should be able to access this information by going to the phished data. And perfect, as you can see in here, we have all of the data that I phished previously, but this is what we just phished right now in this example. I have the username zaid@paypal.com, the password, and it's telling us that the phishing page was PayPal. So this can be very, very, very useful. And to add to that, we also have a feature here at the bottom to go to a specific URL. So with this, we'd be able to send the target to any URL that we want. And if you watched any of my courses or videos in here, you know that we can do so much using a URL. You can hack the browser, we can do more phishing, we can send them to a page that will allow us to bypass two-factor authentication. Again, the sky is the limit in here. But just to demonstrate, let's just simply send them to google.com. Click execute and boom, there you go. They are sent to google.com. So like I said, this can be any phishing page or any page that is designed to hack the browser or give you even more access. And I know this might look a little bit complex, but don't worry, I'm going to walk you through it step by step. So to do this, we're going to use a framework called AirVat. I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. And this framework is actually made up of 3 components in order to allow us to hack Android phones. The first component is the Backdoor APK. And in our example, this is gonna look and function like the Instagram application, but with evil code in the background that will allow us to remotely control the phone that it gets installed on. So this is a Trojan that has a backdoor inside it. It looks like the Instagram application and functions like the Instagram application. And the goal is to install it on the target phone in order to allow us to completely and remotely hack it. And to be able to do this, this Instagram application is going to need to send information such as the messages, the phone calls, and all of that to a C2 or command and control server. And ideally, the C2 or command and control server needs to be always on and always available. And that's why the ideal location or infrastructure for such servers is the cloud. Now, the creator of this RAT or remote administration tool paid special attention to stealth. And that's why instead of sending the data from the phone directly to our own C2 or cloud server, they actually programmed it so that it communicates with a platform called Firebase. Now, Firebase is actually a platform made by Google in order to help app developers scale and create applications, storage, databases, and so on. Therefore, most Android applications actually use Firebase in order to send and receive data. Therefore, when this backdoor communicates with our C2 or command and control server, the network traffic generated by our backdoor is going to look very similar to any other network traffic generated by any other normal Android application. As a result, it will not be flagged by many network security monitoring tools. And then we're going to need a way to read all of this data that is being sent from the backdoor to our C2 or command and control server at Google at Firebase. And to do that, we're going to have our own management panel that will communicate with Firebase, with our cloud command and control server to retrieve, see, and manage the backdoor or the hacked computer. And obviously, the best location or infrastructure for this to be hosted on is to be hosted on the cloud so that we can always access it from any device and from anywhere in the world. All we'll need is simply a device with a web browser, so it can be a tablet, a phone, a computer, and we'll be able to fully and remotely control the hacked Android phones. And we can have multiple phones that we have hacked, and we can control all of them using any device that has a web management page. And because of this infrastructure, our cloud servers are always going to be on, and they're always going to be ready to receive connections from the phones that we hack. So first, we're going to go ahead and set up our C2 server that will be managed and done through Firebase, as we said. So first of all, we're going to have to go to firebase.google.com. We're gonna scroll all the way down and we're gonna click on Get Started. This will ask you to log in if you're not logged into Google already. I am already logged in, so I'm simply gonna click on Get Started by setting up a Firebase project in here, and we're simply gonna put a project name. You can put any name that you want. In my case, I'm gonna put Android Test. I'm gonna accept the terms and we're gonna click on Continue. Next, I'm gonna untick the Enable Gemini in Firebase. This will enable the AI features in Firebase. We're not gonna really need it, so we're gonna disable it and continue. And finally, I'm also gonna disable the Google Analytics because I'm not gonna need that for this project. I want the least amount of monitoring on it. Now it's gonna take a minute to create the project for you, so I'm speeding it up in here. And once this is all done, simply click on Continue to go to your project dashboard on Firebase on Google. So from here, you can start adding services that you want your application, in our case Backdoor, to have. So there are only two essential services that we need to add in here. First is the real-time database. So all you have to do is click it in here, and we're gonna click on Create Database. And this will take you through the steps of simply creating a database on the cloud that your Backdoor or application can communicate with. We're gonna keep the location as the United States and click on Next. And we're gonna keep it at the default setting with Start in Locked Mode and click Enable. Give it a second and that's it. Basically, our real-time database has been created. The only thing that we need to do is click on the rules in here and change the permissions. So as you can see, the read and the write permissions are set to false, and we wanna change both of these to true. So all you have to do is double click and type true. Once done and happy, click on Publish, and the database now is created and configured properly. So now we can go back to the project overview, and we're gonna click on Add App in here in order to add an Android app. This is gonna be our Backdoor. So we're telling the cloud server in here that we're gonna have an Android application that will be communicating with you. So first we need to give it the Android package name, and as you can see, it's telling you the format that it should follow. And because our Android application is disguised inside an Instagram application, we're gonna use a name that Instagram would probably use, which is Meta Instagram, because Meta is the name of the company that makes Instagram and Instagram is the name of the application. Next, you want to give the application a nickname, and this is optional, but in our case, we're simply just going to say Instagram, and we're going to click on Register App. Next, it's teaching us how to add the Firebase SDK. We don't need to worry about this as the developer of the RAT has already done that. So now that we have an Instagram app added to this, we also need to add a web application. So we're going to click on Add App, we're going to click Web Application, and this is going to be the web management panel that we're actually going to use in order to communicate with the target Android phone. Because as you can see, right now we are here and we already set up the Android bit in here so that it can communicate with the C2 server. Now we need to tell the C2 server that we will also have a management panel that will be communicating with you so that we have this full diagram working as it's supposed to. So again, it's asking us for a name for this app. We can simply call it Instagram Web because this is the web app. And we're going to take the setup Firebase hosting for this app and click Register App. And perfect. Now, similar to what we got earlier, it's giving us the configuration that we're going to need to use in our web application or management panel in order to communicate with this cloud infrastructure. So again, I'm going to copy this and paste it in a text editor because we will need it later to configure our web panel. And now that we have that, we can click Next, Next, and click on Continue to Console. We don't really need any of this information. And finally, we also need to add one more component to this command and control server or cloud server, which is the storage. This is needed for uploading and downloading larger media files from the target Android phone. So we're going to click on Upgrade Project, and For you to be able to use this with Firebase, you will actually have to set up a billing plan. This will usually be almost free, if not fully free. And as you can see, Google will also give you $300 of free credit the first time you sign up. So you really don't need to worry about this. All you have to do is simply click on create a cloud billing account, set up all the information it asks for. I'm gonna fast forward through this because this can take a minute or two and simply boring. All I'm gonna be doing is filling up my own information. But once this is done, you'll be redirected to this page. And as you can see, you'll have the get started button that will allow you to set up the storage on the cloud on this infrastructure. We're going to keep it at the default setting because it is at no cost, as you can see. And then we're going to click on create in order to create the storage bucket. Once this is done, we're also going to go to the rules like we did previously to make sure that our application is able to write to this. And to do that, we're simply going to remove this part in here that says if false and click publish. And perfect. Now we have the C2 server completely done, created, configured, and ready to communicate with the Android application and with our management panel. So next, we're going to go ahead and configure our management panel. And before uploading it to the cloud, we're going to need to modify its settings with the settings that we got from Firebase. So we're going to go to the rat GitHub repo, and I've actually forked it. I made a slightly different version of it that has a lighter panel in here. So it's up to you to use whichever you want. They both work exactly the same. So I'm going to be downloading my own. And to do this, we're simply going to click on download zip and click it in here to uncompress it. And we have it right here in my file manager. And we're going to navigate into the web panel folder. And in here, we're going to edit the index.html. So I'm going to right click it and open it with my text editor. So all we have to do is simply copy the configuration that we got from the previous step when we set up the web application on Firebase from here to the configuration that we have in here. We're going to save it, and that is done. So now that we have the management panel set up, the next thing that we need to do is host this management panel on the cloud. And as mentioned by the creator of this application, you'll see that they're saying you can host it anywhere but 000 web host. And I've noticed it also doesn't work very well on a lot of free plans. And it actually makes perfect sense, even if it worked. Imagine this, you're setting up a whole engagement, everything is working as expected, and then your engagement or attack fails because you are using an unreliable web hosting. That's why in this video, I'm actually going to be using Hostinger. They are sponsoring this video, but with them, I'm going to be able to create my own server on the cloud, not even a simple web hosting that I have full control over. I have root access. I can install any applications, not just this application. So I can actually have multiple command and control servers and multiple frameworks and cloud applications that are useful for me as a red teamer or ethical hacker. And because it's Black Friday, we're going to be able to get that at a very low cost. So they're doing a 67% discount. Plus, you can use my own coupon code zSecurity, which will give you a further 10% discount. I would actually go with the KVM2 in here because with that, like I said, I get my own computer with 2 CPUs, 8 gigabytes of RAM, 100 gigabytes of storage, and I'll be able to use it for any use that I want, not only what I'm showing you in here. So this will simply be my computer on the cloud that I use for any engagement that requires a cloud infrastructure. And these days, pretty much any engagement would require that. So you can choose anything that you want, but this is what I'm going to go with. We're going to click on choose plan, and you'll see also the creation of this and the usage is really easy. We can really get started with a few clicks. So as you can see, this is the cost for 2 years, for 24 months. You can set it for 12 months if you want, but obviously you get the most discount by going for the longest period. And then we're going to click on I have a coupon code and put in our own coupon code, which is zSecurity. And if we click on apply, we'll get a further 10% discount. So like I said, I'm going to have my own server on the cloud for 12 months now for this low price. It's going to be in the United Kingdom. We'll keep it at that. And if we scroll down in here, as you can see, we have a few options. So we can either have a plain operating system on this computer, and as you can see, you have most of the choices that you might want to use. You even have Kali Linux, and this will basically be on the cloud. You'll be able to use it without the need to set up port forwarding or anything. It'll come with all of the tools that you already know how to use, and it's ready to be used in any engagement that you want. You can also do an application. So this will create a server on the cloud with a pre-built application, even Docker, and Docker would enable you to set up so many other applications as well. And this is what we actually used in a previous video when we set up our own VPN with WireGuard. So check it out if you're interested in that. But what we're going to do in this video is actually go with the OS with panel, and this will allow us to install an operating system with a web hosting management panel. And the panel that we're going to use is this one right here, Cyber Panel, because it's very easy and very lightweight. We're going to click on confirm to create it. And as you can see, it's as simple as that. All I have to do now is click on continue, and this will go ahead and create the server for me on the cloud because I'm already logged in. If you're not logged in, you will get a screen like this where you need to register. Simply put in your email and put in a password, click register, and it'll bring you back to this page that I have, asking us for a password for the web hosting management panel. You can put any password you want. And then it's going to ask us if we want to enable the malware scanner, and click finish setup. And then it'll automatically go ahead, create the server for you and install the panel that we requested to be installed. And once that's done, if we go back to the management page and click VPS from the side menu in here, you'll see that we already have a server. This is our computer on the cloud. Like I said, this is the computer that you can use to host any website that you want or install any operating system or application and have it be fully available on the cloud. Now we're going to click manage in here in order to manage the web hosting or the website that we want to have on it. And I'm going to click on the manage panel in here, which will redirect me to the cyber panel. This is the web hosting management panel that we already set up. Now we want to access the website that comes with this and host our backdoor management panel on it. So click on the websites from the left and click list websites. And as you can see, you already have a website installed by default, but you can actually have multiple websites hosted on this because, like I said, this is a fully functional computer that you have now on the cloud. I want to just modify this pre-existing website. So I'm simply going to click the file manager in here, and I'm going to navigate into the public HTML directory because this is the directory that gets served by default when people access this website. And the page that gets served by default is this index.html page. That's just the naming convention. So I'm simply just going to delete it, even though I don't really have to. And I'm going to go ahead and upload our web panel folder in here to the public HTML directory. But before I can do that, I'm going to right click and compress it so that I get a zip file with all of the files in this folder. And I'm going to click upload in here, choose the zip that we just created of the web panel, which is in here, and double click, click upload, and perfect. Now the upload is complete. We can see the zip file in here, and I can simply right click and extract in order to extract the zip. Click extract again, and perfect. As you can see, we have our web panel here. And as I said earlier, index.html right here is the file that gets served by default. And it's also the file that we just modified earlier, if you remember, with the correct configuration in order to communicate with our Firebase C2 server. So now to access this, all we have to do is simply copy the URL in here. This is the URL for our cloud server. And we are hosting everything inside a folder called web panel, as you can see in here. So we're going to copy that, type a / and paste it here, hit enter, and perfect. As you can see, we are able to access the management panel of our RAT or C2 server. And as you can see, first of all, you're simply getting a notice saying that this is a free tool. You should not be selling it. We understand. So we're going to click on I understand. Currently, as you can see, we have no online devices, and that is obviously very understandable since we haven't created or executed the backdoor. So now we've created our management panel and hosted it on a hosting provider. So we have the C2 server done, we have the management panel hosted and configured properly, and the last component or piece of the puzzle that we have is the backdoor. So let's go ahead and create the backdoor. Now I'm going to do all of this from a Windows computer because I know most of you guys use Windows, and even if you don't use Windows, you would be very familiar with it. So first, in order to be able to edit, compile, and decompile Android applications, we have to install Java. So we're going to simply go to java.com and simply download Java. And this is going to be very easy. You're going to click install and it'll simply go ahead and install it for us. And once this is done, I'm going to go ahead and download an application called APK Easy Tool. This application allows me to decompile, edit, and then recompile Android applications so that we can modify the configuration of the Android backdoor to communicate with our C2 server. So I have the APK tool downloaded here in my downloads directory. I'm simply going to right click and extract all to extract it. And we have it here. Double click to start it. And we're going to go back to the framework folder. Inside the Android app folder, we have an app called Instagram.apk. This is the backdoor Android application that we want to install on the target computer. This guy right here. So we're going to need to modify its settings so that it can communicate with our C2 server. And that's why we have to use a decompiling tool such as the APK Easy tool that we just downloaded. So we're going to copy it and paste it in here. And then we're going to go to the APK Easy tool, click browse and select it. We're going to click on decompile so that we can edit its configuration. And once the decompile is finished, you'll see in here decompile successful. And you should be able to find it in the same directory as the tool inside a directory called decompiled APKs. So as you can see, we have it in here, Instagram, double click, and we're going to go into resources, values, and we're going to right click the strings file in here and open it with a text editor. So this file contains a number of variables and their values. And basically what we need to do is to copy values from here. This is our index.html file that already contains the configuration, and paste them into the strings file. So I'm going to copy the URL in here and I'm going to do Control F and look for URL. And as you can see, this is the first thing that we need to paste, the database URL, and that is correct. And next we need the API key. So we're going to go back, and as you can see, we have the API key in here. I'm going to copy it and paste it here. And next we need the app ID. So I'm going to go ahead and copy it from here and paste it in here. And next is the bucket ID, which we have in here under storage bucket, and paste it in here. And there is going to be one last value that we're going to need to copy. It's all the way at the bottom in here, the database URL. So if we go back, we have it right there. We're going to copy the project ID for this and paste it in here. Make sure you save this before closing it. And then we're going to go ahead and compile this application. So this is going to be the last step. We're simply going to click on select decompiled application. And we're going to select the folder that contains the decompiled Instagram application that we just edited. I'm going to click OK and click on compile. Give it a second to compile it. And perfect. As you can see, it says sign successful. So the application should be created and compiled, and we should be able to find it under the recompiled APKs in here, Instagram, as you can see. And I'm simply just gonna rename it to Instagram-B so I know that this is the backdoored and properly configured one. And perfect, now we've also completed this step right here. So now we have a backdoored Instagram application that is properly configured to communicate with our C2 server. So now that we have the whole infrastructure ready, it's the moment of truth. Let's go ahead and install this application on an Android phone, and let's see if we're going to be able to fully and remotely manage it using our management panel. So I have a testing Android in here on the right, and I have the Backdoor Instagram application right here on the left. Now, in a real life scenario, you would use social engineering in order to get the target to download and install this application. You could say this is a new version. You could say this is a new version with AI. You can say that they've been selected for beta testing because they're great users. You can come up with anything. The sky's the limit here, and it doesn't even have to be an Instagram application. This is just what we are using in here for demonstration. So I'm simply gonna drag and drop it in here to install it. And as you can see, it's gonna ask for permissions. Now, obviously, if you deny some of these permissions, we're not gonna be able to use the things that the user would deny in here. So I'm going to allow everything. That's why it's a good idea to select an application that should have access to the phone call logs, for example, so you can get them. And this is just going to go to the accessibility window. That's fine. Doesn't really matter. This really looks like a normal Instagram application. Even the icon here looks like a normal Instagram icon. And even though that the application is backgrounded right now, as you can see here on the left already and automatically, we got a connection back from the target phone, as you can see. We have the name of the phone in here. It's a Samsung Galaxy S24. It is not rooted. It is running Android 14 and the battery is at 100%. If we click manage, as you can see, I can do anything that I showed you that I was able to do earlier, and we can use it like an actual user on that phone. And keep in mind, guys, this is a command and control server. It's always on the cloud because of this infrastructure that we built in here. So we can actually have many Android phones that we have hacked and manage them all using the same management panel. So let me show you. I have another Android phone here on the left. We're going to drag and drop the application to it again and allow everything. And if we go to our management page and go back, as you can see now we have another entry. So the first entry in here, the S24, is for the phone that we've already hacked. And the new one in here is the new phone on the left. So I can manage both of these phones now from the same management panel, and I can have as many as I want. All I have to do is click on the one that I want to manage and I'll have full remote control over it. And last but not least, I also just want to highlight how easy it is to manage these phones. So we're managing these phones through a simple URL, through a simple website that we can access from anywhere and from any device, like I said. So all I have to do is simply access this even from my normal iPhone. So I'm going to copy this and paste it in here. And perfect. As you can see, I get the normal management panel that we've been using. And here we go. I have both devices that I can control from here easily from anywhere. And again, if I click on any of these devices, I have all of the functions that we already saw earlier. And if I click the phone log, for example, in here, I will get a list of the phone log as we saw earlier. And I can do anything that I showed you that I was able to do earlier, but simply from my mobile phone. And that's it, guys. I hope you found this video useful. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you get notified when I upload videos like this. And let me know if there are any other hacking tools or Android specific hacking tools that you would like me to cover in future videos.